Okay guys, right, now I'm going to apologise. You'll notice that there's a jump here. I was going to do the rest of this video a bit later, well, not long after I'd finished the first lot, but I got ill, so I've had to change my mind, change it a little bit. But back today, back with this, let's get back into the Marvel films. First one I'm going to discuss is Doctor Strange. Now, as a whole, a lot of people said that they really enjoyed this film. I thought it was alright. I didn't think it was as good as some of the other films, but like I said, it was good for what it was and what it did. You needed to know about Doctor Strange, and I will say that if anybody wants to watch anyone wants to watch the Marvel, start watching the Marvel at some point before you get to Infinity War, probably even before you get to Ragnarok. You really need to watch Doctor Strange because it'll explain his origin, who he is, what he's about, and all of his powers and everything. So you need to watch that. Okay, now we're going to speak to the person. Now, when I first watched Civil War, the character that struck me out that I did not know about was Ant-Man. And I was a bit unsure whether I wanted to actually know anything about his character, whether I wanted to know, I thought he was slightly a weaker character than the others, but I watched them both and I was very impressed. I was really enjoyed both films. So, got nothing bad really to say about either of them. I think I prefer Ant-Man and the Wasp, personally, over the two. But Ant-Man is a really good film. It explains the suit and how he got his abilities and how he was trained from just a simple criminal who was just let out of prison into the Ant-Man basically, and how he would gained all of his abilities and stuff. So I like number one. Number two, like I said, I prefer because it brings the girl into it and it makes her more relevant. In the first one, I didn't think she was really that relevant. She was just there and she wanted to be part of it, but she just wasn't. But in this one, she finally became part of it and became the sidekick, so to speak, of Ant-Man. And you also saw her and him sort of their relationship progress and become more coupley, more than just sidekick. So I enjoyed that. And the main bad guy in it, the girl that can that seems to be warping, I think that was a good film. It shows, I think that's a good part of the film, to be honest. It explains the work that they're doing. It puts an emphasis on how dangerous it is, because obviously that's how she was affected by the experiment that they're trying to do. So I think that's good that they did that, because it sort of adds a little bit extra a danger element to what they're trying to do. So that's good. Now the next one is probably a fan's favourite when it comes to Marvel films, Spider-Man. Now, when I saw Spider-Man in Civil War, I actually the running joke was that was the best Spider-Man film that's ever been, which I've got to admit is probably true. When I heard that they were bringing out a solo Spider-Man film, I was apprehensive, probably is probably the best way. I wasn't sure whether I was going to enjoy it, whether it would be worth watching. But I heard some decent reviews, so me and my brother again went to go and watch it, and I was very impressed. I thought it was a really good film, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed Tom Holland playing Spider-Man. I enjoyed his the way that he played Spider-Man and how he made the character really come to life. And because he's so young as well compared to the other actors that have played Spider-Man, there's still that air of innocence about him, which when you're talking about Spider-Man you need. So that's really good. I enjoy the fact that during the entire film he's trying to impress Tony Stark, and every single time he tries to do that, he messes up and makes a mess of it. And I think that is very relevant to anybody really, because whenever you've got a mentor or someone that you look up to, you always do things and overdo things to try and impress them, to say, look, I can do this, I'm proving to you I can do this. And that's all he does during this entire film, until like near the end, obviously, where he actually does what he needs to do. And I think that's really cool and really good, and like I said, I really enjoyed that film. I said I was a bit unsure about his, the bad guy. I thought the bad guy was really good in this one. I enjoyed it. This like machine falcon thing, brilliant. I enjoyed that. Didn't like the fact that he ended up going out. I didn't like the fact that Peter ended up going out with his daughter, and that's how it all like exploded. I thought that was a bit could have been done slightly different, I think. But on the whole, really enjoyed it. Really good film. The next film is a favourite of everybody, I think. I don't think there's a bad person to say a word about this. And I went to the cinema with my whole family to watch this one when it first came out. Black Panther. Now, what a film! What a film! It just absolutely blew everybody's mind, I think. And like I said, most of these characters that I'm like covering now, Spider-Man, Black Panther, Ant-Man, they all like made their first appearance in Captain America Civil War. And this was another one that we had no idea who he was, what he was about, and this one like helped cover that basically, and it did a really good job. Explained who he is, what the Black Panther stands for, and in Captain America Civil War, you didn't really see much of his weakness. In Black Panther, you do, which is good. You need every superhero, you have to see weakness to make them relatable, which is really good. A lot of people like it, I think, because of the fact that it's a black superhero, which apart from Falcon, who I would class as more of a like sidekick superhero, we haven't seen a main superhero that's coloured, which is good. But it's not just that. It's not just the fact that it's that I like it. I just think that the storyline is really good. There's a lot of like little loose ends that they tie up with it as well, which is good. I enjoy going on about the tribes, the different tribes, and how Wakanda became Wakanda basically, and stuff like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed that film. I do like it a lot. Right, the next one is, now I'm going to probably get a lot of stick for this from Marvel fans, but I actually really enjoyed this film. It's a bit too feminist probably, which is probably why a lot of people don't like it, but I really did enjoy it, and that's Captain Marvel. Like I said, it is a little bit over feminist probably for me, but regardless, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good film, it's a good story, and it sort of set up everything ready for Endgame, which is obvious. I mean, it didn't really need much of a setup anyway, but it got an extra one. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed the storyline. I thought the storyline was good. I thought that the way that Nick Fury was portrayed and everything, I thought that was all good. I thought she was a bit overpowered, but as you ask anybody within the Marvel who like watches Marvel or has read the comics, when you've got characters like Captain Marvel or Scarlet Witch to an extent, and possibly for Thor as well, it is very difficult to do a really good story where it actually portrays their power properly, because obviously Thor is a god, so he's definitely got a lot, so he's got like overpower, and Captain Marvel and Scarlet Witch are both of their powers come from an Infinity Stone, so it's like over. You can't really. explain her powers and overdo it. And when she was in Endgame, which I'll discuss in a minute, they did sort of only have her in a little bit, which is probably a good thing. Okay, finally onto it now, which is Avengers. Now, what I'm showing you here isn't actually all of them. It's a box set that I purchased, and I got all the Avengers films on there. I'm going to go through each one very, very quickly, just to tell you. As I mentioned before, Avengers Assemble was my first Marvel film, and I was absolutely gobsmacked by it. I thought it was brilliant. There was so much in it, and like I said, they managed to get everything in, which was brilliant. And I was just a bit concerned, knowing how sequels go, sometimes how Age of Ultron was going to turn out. Just give myself a bit of drink. But luckily enough, Age of Ultron was really good as well. I think probably, apart from Endgame, I think out of like the two, Assembled and Ultron, I think Ultron's probably my favourite, but that's probably because I'm biased, because obviously Scarlet Witch is in Age of Ultron, and I like her a lot. But I thought the storyline was good. I thought the way that the evil that Ultron himself was put over was really good. It was really well done, and you can understand his motives to an extent. And also it shows the flaw. It shows the flaw in all the characters, which is good. It shows that even though they've all got a flaw, each character that's on there like strengthens that bad thing. So, for example, with Tony Stark, his like philosophy is to make the whole world safe by giving the world like an iron or a metal sort of, turning it into a metal ball, basically, stop people getting in and damaging the planet. But Cap is all about freedom and making sure that, you know, that people are safe, but obviously you don't want to take away their freedom. So they sort of like work off each other very well. And like I said, with this one they brought in the two new characters, which are Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, after some debating. And I thought that Quicksilver, I thought both characters were played and portrayed very well. It's a bit of a shame about what happened, and they had to like kill off Quicksilver. I thought that was pretty. They didn't need to do that, I don't think, but they did. So, you know, each their own. And it also brought in a new person called Vision, who ends up being sort of Scarlet Witch's sort of love interest, I think is the best way to describe it. They have a sort of like love relationship, which is kind of weird considering Vision is a robot, but you know, each to their own. But yeah, I actually enjoyed the film. I thought it was very, very good. It brought extra things to it. You got to see War Machine again. Yeah, and I just felt it was very, very good, and one of the most funniest scenes in the thing ever. There's a couple of lines in there that are just hilarious when Tony Stark hits a shield and he just swears and Captain goes, "Language!" That's just absolutely hilarious. And also when they're in after the party, they all try and lift Thor's hammer, and that's just brilliant. And the expression on Thor's face when Cap almost lifts it, it's brilliant. And then we go on to the two-parter, which are Infinity War and Endgame. Now, a lot of people will say that Endgame is the better of the two. I only slightly disagree. I think Infinity War had more range to it, so to speak. There's a lot more going on, with all the different like places, you know, with Iron Man, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, going off into space, going on to Titan, and then meeting up with Guardians of the Galaxy. Then you've got you know, Cap and his team, and they were in Wakanda with Black Panther. And yeah, it was very, very good. And I think the four, you know, Thanos' four like henchmen, so to speak, I think they weren't portrayed as powerful as they probably should have been. You could tell they were powerful, but I don't know, they just didn't seem as powerful as expected. But the one thing that Marvel did very well in this film, and I will say this, is when they, you know, brought back people. So when you first see Captain America, he's just standing in the shadows, he just catches like the spear that's thrown at him, and then he just walks out, and you can see that he's been like, he's got a beard and everything else. It's great. And then obviously the most epic is where Thor comes down and from space, from getting his axe, and arrives at Wakanda to help save the rest of the Avengers, and to get there and to be there for when Thanos finally arrives. And I think Thanos was extremely powered. Was he overpowered? Probably not. I think he was made to be overpowered because he had to be someone that the Avengers struggled against. If the Avengers hadn't have struggled that much against him, and he just won, literally just won, then he wouldn't have come off as a big enough bad guy as he was meant to be. So, you know, he had to be overpowered to make sure that you can sense that he was a threat, and that when Endgame came around, that he became like a really big bad guy, and he was the main focus of Endgame. Now, when it comes to Endgame, I was very shocked, and I think a lot of people were, how the movie started. I think that was a bit of a shock. Thanos being killed straight away, that was quite whoa. And then they brought obviously Ant-Man back when he got stuck in the quantum realm, and he explains about how it doesn't work and how it can do, and now they use time travel. Now, I will say this, that I have watched quite a lot of films that deal with time travel, and sometimes it's done really well, and then sometimes it's not quite done very well. But this one, they actually did very well with it, and it makes sense. It's not too, you know, ridiculous, and too, well, this doesn't make sense. So that's good. The fact that they kept it, I wouldn't say too simple, but they kept it simple enough, which is good. I liked it at the beginning as well with Tony. He was like shaken. He wasn't his arrogance was gone because he was defeated by Thanos in the fight in Infinity War. That was such a humbling experience for him, and I think that was good. The fact that he was brought down and he was like giving up, he didn't want to do any more fighting because of what happened. That was good. And then obviously they do the time travel and get the Infinity Stones to reset everything, so to speak. And then you know, they, you know, I'm trying not to spoil it. They, you know, obviously things happen, and then we get to the final battle, which is obviously Thanos has returned, and he has got a big, massive army, and he has just absolutely destroyed the hell out of Thor, Tony Stark, Iron Man, and Cap. And Captain Shield is now he's now in half, literally. And Cap just like does his strap on the thing, so that he's like going to do this, and then he just hears he's knackered and he's like really tired and he's been beaten up for a good number of minutes. But before I go on to what happens, I just want to bring a point I've just remembered that I forgot to say. The fact is that he picks up Thor's hammer. That is brilliant. I absolutely love that. And then Captain goes absolutely mental and absolutely hammers the crap out of Thanos for a couple of minutes. Brilliant. Anyway, back to the point. And then you just hear like something on his radio saying, "Cap, on your left," and he turns around, and then a big massive portal opens, and then all the people that were destroyed by Thanos all reappear. You see Falcon, you see Doctor Strange, you see Spider-Man, you see the Guardians, Scarlet Witch, Bucky, Groot, all the people from Wakanda. It was just, massive, and there are some like funny quotes in it. Doctor Strange says, "Is that everybody?" And his little sidekick Wong goes, "Isn't that enough?" Sorry, he says, "You wanted more?" And it was just one of those scenes where you just go, jaws drop sort of like thing. And it was like, wow. And then the fight itself was just brilliant. And then obviously we come to the end, and I think this is going back. I think the reason why they did it this way was because if you watch Avengers Assembled, Cap says, "You're never the one to make the sacrifice play." And in this one he did. He sacrificed himself to save everybody, by using the stones to beat Thanos. And then obviously after all the fight, everything calmed down, and everyone, and we've said our goodbye to Tony Stark after he died, which was very emotional. Everybody cried, and if you didn't cry, you're lying. Then you've got like Cap going back to drop off all the Infinity Stones. Now you don't see him drop off the Infinity Stones, but that's where he goes. And then you see that he doesn't come back, but he does come back as an old man. And he decided to, when he dropped off one of the Infinity Stones, he dropped off and then went back and stayed with Peggy and fulfilled, basically got with the girl that he had to leave. And I think that's a really nice touch, and they needed to do that, I think. Okay, that's all the Marvel films that we've got so far. Like I said, I'm not covering the Hulk because that was just a rubbish film. God almighty, that was terrible. The Guardians, it was good. They were good films, I'll say that. They were good films, good laugh, but as a arc for the main story, I don't really think it added too much to it, apart from you just found out in the first one where the Power Stone wasn't. That was about it. So like I said, I wasn't going to go into them that much, but what am I looking forward to? Phase 4 now. I'm looking forward to seeing the last Thor film, because apparently Jane Foster is going to become Lady Thor, which I think it's intriguing. It's interesting. I'm not sure whether I'm looking forward to seeing how they do it. I hope they do it in a way that makes sense. Yeah, then you've got obviously Wanda and Vision doing their own. Well, WandaVision, which is apparently a little mini series they're going to put on a sort of Disney Channel. And they're going to have loads of other things on there as well. There's a Black Widow film coming out. I'm absolutely loving that. I want to see that. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Yeah, so we've still got plenty. I'd like to I think hopefully in the Black Widow at the end of it you'll see who the main next big bad guy is going to be. Everyone's saying they think it's going to be Galactica. We will see. Okay, that's all I've got to come up for today. I'd like to thank you for watching this, and yeah, I hope to see you in the next video. Alright guys, on YouTube, it's been a while, so not going to say why. I've been working a lot and obviously other commitments, so I'm just going to get straight into the video today. And as you saw from the title, it's about Marvel, with Endgame just coming out. I just wanted to quickly go through all the different films, and just like go through them very quickly and just like say what I think of them, or what I enjoyed, what I didn't enjoy in some of the films, and see where I go. I will say that I will not be going through Guardians of the Galaxy, just for the simple fact that I did enjoy both movies, but it was because they were more comical and very, very funny, and more than what actually happened in the film story wise. So I will not I'm not going to go through them. So let's start with, of course, the first one that we all know, and that's the Iron Man series. Now, when I first watched Marvel, Iron Man actually wasn't my first one. Actually, Avengers Assembled was my first Marvel film that I actually saw. But I know that Iron Man was probably the first one to actually come out. So, and the first one, after I watched it, I was like, wow, that's really good. Really enjoyed it. Found it quite, and I think the reason why I enjoyed that one more than probably the other Iron Mans, which I'll go into in a minute, was because that the suit was very, very, you could actually see it being developed now. The only thing that we're missing is obviously the arc reactor and his like pulse spray blasters, but everything else on the suit and the way that it's constructed and everything is, real. You could actually physically do that, and people have physically built an Iron Man costume when they go into Comic-Con and stuff like that. And it actually looks like it's a real costume, so I really like that. I just like the fact that it just shows you at the beginning him being very arrogant, very cocky, being the way he is, and then going through the experience he goes through in the film, he then becomes more humble and everything, and at the end, bam, he hits out saying, yes, I am Iron Man. That is just like, doesn't leave anybody in suspense. It's like just like puts it all out there and everything, and I just really, really enjoyed it. And I think because it was mostly real that I really enjoyed it. So that was Iron Man. Now Iron Man 2, I was not as I didn't think it was as good as Iron Man, the original first one. It was a decent sequel, don't get me wrong. The storylines are okay, and what happens in it is okay, and you see Nick Fury properly, and you get to see Black Widow come in, being a spy in Tony's company, which is kind of amazing and funny at the same time, especially with Tony being the person that always chats up all the girls. It's quite hilarious to watch that happen. So yeah, I did enjoy that film, as I enjoyed certain parts of it, but there was a lot of parts I didn't like, and him grovelling all the time to Pepper and stuff like that. It just seemed like, yeah, it just didn't really do anything for me, and I just wasn't that impressed with it, that part. But yeah, it was a good film. It's a decent film, and like I said, I don't think it's as good as the original. But I must admit, the third one, probably the worst of the bunch. When I saw it, I was like so disappointed. It was so far-fetched. The mandolin was completely terrible. It wasn't even him. It was just a really terrible storyline, very terrible like directing. I just don't think it just didn't feel like an Iron Man film. It just felt like a ridiculous film. It just didn't feel right as in the Iron Man universe. So just to quickly butt across, yeah, I've watched all three, got all three, I do enjoy them, but Iron Man, the original, is still the best of the bunch.
Okay, we'll go on to the next Avenger now, which is, of course, Captain America. Now, like I said, the first one I ever watched was Avengers, so obviously Captain America was something I wanted to know a little bit more about, because you only didn't really get to see much of his storyline in Avengers. So, first one obviously shows him being like created, and seeing the person he was before he became the super soldier that he ended up becoming. And that is really good because it shows the development. It shows, it's not just like, bam, here's Captain America in his glory. He was, this is how he is. It showed you him being a weedy little kid and being given the special serum to become the super soldier. Now, I actually like this one more than a lot of people. Most of the people that I've spoken to, they like Captain America: The First Avenger. They like it, but I like it more than they do, and I think it's probably the better of the three. Although I'll explain why it's probably not the best in a minute. And yeah, the storyline's decent. The characters are decent. I think the person who plays Peggy is very, very good at that. All the characters play their roles very well, and the emotion and everything is there, and it's not made too ridiculous. It's like, keeping to the point. Okay, next one is the Winter Soldier, the second in the series, and this one is probably everybody's favourite, to be quite honest. Everybody likes this. There's not a person that I've actually spoken to that doesn't like Captain America with the Winter Soldier. Everybody likes the dynamics between Cap and the fact that the person that he's got to face at the very end is his best friend, when they find out that his best friend's still alive. They have Scarlett Johansson, Natasha Romanoff back in this one, doing what she does best, which is infiltrate and spying and stuff like that. And yeah, I think it's a really good film. There's loads of little different twists in it. You get to meet Falcon, a new character as well, which is always good when you meet new characters. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed this particular one. So yeah, I think this one is classed as the best one. Now you've got Civil War. Now, when I was seeing this, I was like, wow, this is really good, and I really enjoyed it. And there's a lot of people in this, because there's obviously extra characters like Scarlet Witch, Ant-Man, and others, Hawkeye, Spider-Man, and it's really, really good how they have managed to give them all the right amount of screen time and got everything together working correctly. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I must admit, out of them, I actually probably prefer Civil War, because it's just got more action in it. It's just like a complete story, and I really enjoy that one. I think the best part of it is probably at the final fight scene that you see, where Cap, Iron Man, and Bucky are all fighting. Cap and Bucky versus Iron Man. I think that is just an amazing fight. And you got Cap, Tony Stark, in his suit, and Friday says, you can't beat him hand to hand, and he just goes, analyzes the fight pattern, and then all of a sudden he just grabs the shield and stops it and just goes, he just goes, let's kick his ass, and then he just absolutely wipes the floor with Captain America. It's quite intense battle, and it's really fun. Okay, and the last character, obviously, of the main three that I'm talking about is Thor. And now, I will say this: Thor 1 and 2 I didn't see until last night, so they're still quite fresh in my mind, which is good. So yeah, but before I actually carry on about them, I'd like to thank Ethan from work, who I work with. Thanks for lending me these, because I needed to watch them last night. The first one, Thor, just on its own, absolutely wonderful film. I actually saw a part of this before I actually watched the full film last night, and it didn't look that good. But after I watched it last night and everything, and watched all the parts of it, it made sense, and I enjoyed it. And it shows him change from the aggressive, wanting to always fight, to being more reserved, mellow, doesn't have to fight all the time, can do it a different way. I like that. Then you got Thor, Dark World. Now, a lot of people have criticised this and said that they don't like this film. I actually thought it was okay. There was certain things wrong with it, like last night when I was watching it last night. Like the fact I didn't like the way that the main bad guy, died. I thought that was very weak. They could have done it a different way, and maybe should have. But as a whole, as a story, I enjoyed the story. I think a lot of people just got fed up with the fact that during the whole film it's all about Thor and Jane Foster. But at the end of the day, that film, the second film, usually in a series, usually concentrates on that, and that's what that's what some films are like that. So you can either love it or hate it. I actually think it's an actually really good film personally. Okay, and the last one is Ragnarok. Now, me and my brother went to go and see this at the cinema when it came out first time, just before Avengers: Infinity War, and I really thought I enjoyed it. I watched it last night again to make sure that I'd got it all correct and that I wasn't like losing my marbles. And it's true, I actually do enjoy it. There's a lot of action in it, and I'm probably gonna get some people criticised for what I'm gonna say, but I found Helena extremely attractive and hot. I thought she was quite. I think I just like generally evil women, to be honest. Anyway, and yeah, I actually enjoyed the film. It was actually very, very good. So, yeah, thank you.